Hi, my name's Danielle and I'm an independent Kaszazz consultant in Tassie, and I'd like to share with you a few things about our Bellish Ezy-Press. This is our Ezy-Press. It's an A4 size die cutting machine. It comes with our pads that I use for our cutting and embossing. I've done a video, a basic overview video, so you can check that out and see what the different pads are used for. So basically our machine can lock into place, and we have plates that slide out front and back, and carry handle and a handle on the end, which is nice and easy to use. And along the front here are our basic instructions of our pad combinations, so an easy quick reference. And there are lots and lots of things you can do with it, so come and join me for a project. This is the card I'm going to show you how to make today. This is using an embossing die and also embossing powder with Watermark ink to create the background, and then some other tag die as well. Okay, so we need to start, we'll put our base pad A down and just a scrap piece of paper. Just going to grab our Miss You Embossing Die and our Watermark ink. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to ink all over the die. Okay, so once that's all nicely inked up, I'm just going to sit that to the side for a second. I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper and our embossing mat, a rubber embossing mat, sit that on top, and one piece of paper, and then I'm going to grab a piece of paper, just our white card, and I'm going to put this inky side down onto my die. Okay, just position it wherever. And embossing pad B on top, and we're going to roll it through. And by doing this, it's going to push the watermark ink onto our paper and leave the embossing spaces white and free of ink. We're just rolling it through nice and slowly to get a nice deep impression. Sit that there. Now before I get it out, I'm just going to show you the embossing powder that I'm going to use. This is Distress Embossing Powder, so it's a little bit more aged and it's not as shiny as what normal embossing powder is. And what you need to do, you need to shake it up before you use it, because it's got special particles that you have to rub off. So we'll just shake that up so that's ready to go. Take off our embossing pad B. Carefully take off our die without moving it. I'm just going to put a piece of scrap paper on top. Grab my embossing powder, I'm going to pour all over it because that watermark is still wet. And of course it doesn't matter how much you pour on, because we're going to pour it all back again anyway. Okay. Tap it off. And you'll see it's left only the images that we embossed raised, and the rest is embossing powder. Now let's clear this away. Now we need to bring our heat tool and we're going to heat it. Now when you heat Distress Embossing Powder, it doesn't go shiny the same way as what regular embossing powder does. You have to really watch it, and it changes so slightly, but you probably won't be able to see it on camera, but it does change, sort of goes a little bit darker. Okay, now we're going to stamp our greeting. So this is the You Make Me Smile. So what we're going to do, we're going to stamp the word first on a piece of white, and then we're going to cut it out. So I'm just going to use vivid ink, vivid black ink for this. Just going to stamp it towards the middle-ish, because the die has to be cut out around it, so you don't want to put it right close to the edge. Then what I'm going to do my stack upside down. So I'm going to do cutting pad D, our paper that we're going to cut, because now we're going to get our die from our 2-in-1 cut and emboss dies, and I can see exactly where I'm going to place it around my words. And make sure that your cutting edge is going into your cutting pad D. And then we put our base pad on top and roll it through. Okay. Because it's a thick paper die, sometimes they stick into our mat, which is perfectly normal. Just pop that out, and if you wanted to emboss that you could with the rubber mat. I'm not going to do that today. So now we'll get to putting the card together. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do when assembling our card is get our embossing back again, and because this is Distress Embossing Powder, it actually has some little release granules on it, so it's a bit like sandpaper. So you actually need to rub it with your finger, and you're going to rub all over, and you're going to rub off those granules, and it is going to get quite a bit lighter in some areas. It just depends on where the release granules are. So you're just going to rub that all over, and it's really important that you don't put these back into your tub, because there's a certain ratio that they have made up so that there's the right amount. So if you put them back into your container of embossing powder, it's going to wreck that ratio, and you're actually, in the end, you're only going to be left with the rubbing off crystals, and then it's not going to emboss properly. Okay, so you can see that's a little bit more aged. Okay, so now I'll just get all the dusty bits. So this is a piece of SB Essentials Spinach. I'm just going to fold that in half to create a little card. So, just scoring it the textured side together, and then folding it back out just to get a nice edge that doesn't, making sure that it doesn't crack. Okay, and then I'm going to get our little bird, pop it out of the die, and I'm going to edge that with Dusty Concord Distress Ink. So I'm just going to use the blending tool and just go around the edge just to add a little bit of the pebble. Okay. Then what I'm going to do, out of a spare piece of spinach, I'm going to use our Kaszazz Punch. This is the medium sized, or the jumbo, I think it is. I can never remember which one's jumbo and which one's super. Scallop. I'm just going to punch one of those out. And then I'm going to get a flower. So this little flower here is part of our big daisies. So the actual size, that's our actual size of our daisies. We also have smaller ones as well. These are the nice big ones. And so I've just cut it into quarters because I just want a quarter of the flower over the top. So I'm going to bring back this one here, grab my super tape, and I'm going to stick that all together. Okay, so now my scallop is actually hanging off the edge a little bit, like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut off that with a pair of scissors. And just snip that edge off. So just going to grab some of our green ribbon. So this is just our Organdy ribbon. Just going to thread this through our holes. I'm just going to grab my paper piercer to help just pop it in. So then I'm just going to measure it to make sure it's long enough to go along the length of my card. Cut it off. Then I'm going to add some super tape to the back of my card. And peel those off. And then I'm going to position my greeting where I want it to go, and then just wrap the ribbon around the back onto the super tape. Okay, like so. And then all that's left to do is stick it onto our card. And there you go, there's the finished card. Thanks for watching my video today, I really appreciate your time. If you have any questions for me, you can post them at the bottom of the video, or you can contact me at my blog, www.danielleskaszazz.blogspot.com. If you have any questions for Kaszazz, or you'd like to be put in touch with a local consultant, you can contact them on 1800 649 191, or you can contact them via the website, www.kaszazz.com. And you can be put in touch with a local consultant and see all the great products on the website as well. Thank you very much for your time.